Welcome to Little Birdie. I'm your host, Nick Heathcote. Jack Dickens is with me and the glamorous Samantha Todd. And in the studio, we've got Ian Dowson from last week, who was on fire, and Cam Dean is looking fresh-faced out of the surf.
It's great to be back in this year after a long layoff.
Yeah, well, the wave pool's open now in Melbourne, so you must be frolicking around that and you're back into the city.
No wave pool action. It's a bit cold. Small body of water down there at Tullamarine. I'm going to stay away and stick to the analogue old-school ocean.
You would be an analogue man. Sammy, what have you been up to? I see a prawn recipe, chili prawns with zucchini noodles on your Instagram.
Yeah, I've been shredding lately, or trying to at least.
Anything in the mix there, like a marathon run coming up, or some sort of fit campaign, or just been body shamed by the brother?
Body shamed by my brother. Yeah, he refuses to have a fat sister, and I've put on a whole of 5 kilos from ISO, so it's got to come off.
There's a new restaurant opening up in Melbourne called Gimlet. That's an Andrew McConnell number. He runs Cutler & Co. Sam, you across it? You made a booking
Here we go. Here we go, punters.
Are you inviting me?
What's happened here for the guys listening at home is Samantha's just softly announced herself as a partial foodie. And little Scooty's just sitting there and he's just going to put you back in your place, because if there's a foodie on the team, it's going to be little Scooty. He's the connoisseur when it comes to bending someone else's cart around Victoria. You've got to understand where he's coming from. This man worked for a corporate of plastic for 5+ years. He didn't pay for him, so he's always eating the grouse.
Wowee.
Well,
It's a good way to live.
yeah,
I'm not backing it.
We went to Bellotta last week, and Sammy quite enjoyed the French champagne on offer. So I thought maybe our next team meeting we might get Jack along, and we might go to Gimlet and sample Andrew McConnell's finest down Flinders Lane. And hopefully Dan Andrews is open the joint enough so we can get Dowso and Cam on board.
Good.
Some fine dining, Cam.
Worried you're about to get a little bit political there.
Well, now that the restaurants were about to open up, it's a great little segue to try and figure out what's the latest in Cam Dean's life on the dating scene. Last time we spoke to you in great depth about that, you had a date on the same on a Thursday night.
Like a deer in the headlights here. What did you expect, mate?
I'm coming off the top rope here.
I did not know where that was going. No, I'm going to shoulder arms there. It's very quiet down at Phillip Island, so I'm just enjoying the surf in my alone time.
He looks loved up to me. I think he's found one. He's keeping a bit hush
Bit of a twinkle in the eye.
until it matures into something he's happy to announce on the show. Speaking of politics, what about our man King Kyrgios?
I thought you were going to say Donald Trump. He's on the drift big time, but Kyrgios seems to be owning the tennis landscape at the moment. He's put Djokovic in his corner.
Big time. He's been talked down to by these tiny little freaks who have no mates and just play tennis all day. His entire adult life. He just does.
I think we've got plenty of mates.
He lives by like you do
Just
you. That's
quietly.
all he does. Just does whatever suits Nick. It's just a game of tennis. I'm making enough cash. I love his attitude to tennis.
And he loves a slide in on the DM too. A few weeks ago, he said that he's open to any fan sort of approaching him for a little bit of a soiree. So he'd be a man of Cam Dean's heart.
Yeah, he's got a big feud going with Djokovic too, doesn't he?
Which he just won because Djokovic just got COVID.
He's loving it.
He just got COVID.
He did.
And he warned him. He said, don't do this, you'll get COVID.
And I think Joker's a bit of a pants man too. So he'd be spewing that Nick's just, out there and saying, I can do whatever I like all the time.
I saw the footage of those boys operating in that nightclub. It's very convenient that Nick can play the Joker can play tennis, because he would have zero game. He'd battle big time if he wasn't minted.
Now, Dowso, you're very quiet here. Dawson's Creek.
Well,
what can you give us?
Yeah, well, a little bit like Dicko. I've got the young fella at home, and the lungs started bursting out at 4 a.m. this morning. So it's been a long morning this morning.
It's a triple shot morning.
But good to be here, mate, and enjoying you guys bantering on.
It's a very long black you've got in your hands there.
Yeah, I'm getting started the traditional way with a nice long black from up the road.
Samantha, do you reckon Djokovic would be much of a cocksman? Have much game off the court?
No. It's a miracle he got his wife, I think.
And what about Nick Kyrgios?
Whack.
Well,
Do you fancy him?
Oh,
is he a bit of okay?
Oh, wow. Settle into that.
I'm more of a Zverev kind of.
Alexander Zverev.
Yeah, more my type.
We'll move on to Trump after this.
Not just yet. While we're talking about romance. Scooty, you've got a little announcement to make, I believe.
Yeah, well, I've found a house. I'm moving to Murrumbina. When I heard the suburb Murrumbina, I thought I'm going to move to an orchard, or it's a brand of orange juice or something along those lines. But I've found a house, and in the next couple of weeks I'll be doing the big move. Moving's not fun, so lucky I've got a couple of strong, able men to help me and move out into the suburbs. So yeah, it's a bit of a
Langer's men. Just get Langer to sort that out. 'cause I won't be-
Wednesday mid-morning or Wednesday afternoon, is that when we're moving?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm,
Pretty
who
cute.
knows? It's a
I've
bit-
seen a little white picket fence and a little lawn there. It's a bit of a change of pace for you, Scooty.
Real
Urban
commitment
life.
move, isn't
it's
it?
going to be...
You expect the whinging and the actual kid chat to be legitimate and start to really lift, because he blues about it with nothing to complain about at the moment. So God help us all in a couple of weeks.
Are you ready for a bit of a lifestyle change?
No, I think so.
No more lads pad?
Well, Jack and I just play golf and work most of the time anyway, so it's just going to be business as usual, and I'll have a little bit of grass out the back so I can do a little bit of earthing like Jack so often does down at Seaford Beach. So I think more space, I can free range a bit and get a little bit more creative with some of the ideas that come across. But yeah, definitely the restaurant scene's on the back burner from now on. So Sammy, you're going to have to step up to the plate there with the big dolph and some dates. Dicko, what's on today's show? We've got AFL chat. It's been topsy-turvy. The hub up in the Gold Coast is fascinating chat.
The Bombers, another positive.
False positive.
This time it's towards just a medical issue, not so much the usual for the Bombers, but it's thrown the whole AFL into chaos. We'll talk to the boys about that. We've also got Top Rope Bomb, Hall of Fame as usual, Hug the League.
Dabble of racing.
The Dragons, his man Mary McGregor, has put two in a row together, so I don't know where he's going to be at mentally, Top Rope, but we'll touch base and find out. Finish off with In the Know with the Snow. He's got one for us.
Yeah, and I had a little bit of a tussle on Sunday night with Jeff Kennett on Twitter, so we might even touch upon that. But
That would have hurt, yeah, because you're a big Jeff man.
Yeah, I'm a big Jeff man, but he doesn't get everything right. He gets a lot right. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But time for a break, I think.
Bet rejected? It's time to sack your bookie and bet with a bookmaker you can trust. Topsport.com.au. Please gamble responsibly. Gamblers Helpline on 1800 858 858. Welcome back to Little Birdie Pod. You're here with Sammy and the boys, and we're about to talk all things AFL. Now, it's a bit of a few upsets, actually, over the weekend. Do we want to start with a rehash, lads?
I think a review would be really, really good.
I reckon we start with something a little bit different.
Yeah, my favourite segment. Let's kick off with that right off the bat.
What is it?
Bad beats. Let's talk some bad beats here, Cam. So what did you see out there over the weekend? The punters, they were on something. It didn't go their way. What were the bad beats out there that you saw?
I've got one off the bat. What
do you got, Dicko?
What about our man here? See, Dean, Little Birdie tells me he gapped the Blues 3/4 time around the dollar, south of $1.10.
Yeah.
How sick's that?
I think, yeah, that's one of the two bad beats for the weekend. The Cats, they were all over the Blues late, and there were so many incidents that they could have won that game.
G. Ablett directly in front, 15 metres out.
There was a play on from a free kick. There was a touch ball. And I think even
Ned Henry going back with the flight of the ball, upsetting Toma coming out on the lead.
Yeah,
there was a million of them.
And then Eddie Betts, the tackle.
And that was great to see Eddie back. He played amazing on the weekend. But yeah, I think if you backed the Cats in the run there, who would do that? I don't know. But if you did, you'd feel pretty stiff. And I know quite a few people that did. And there was one other for the weekend. The over 122.5 points in the Collingwood St Kilda game, 14 goals in the first half. Both teams just put the cue in the rack. Three goals in the second half, circle work, the total goes under.
There's starting to be a little bit of a theme here.
Yeah, that was a shock.
Over and under punters.
This
is always going to be part of the...
Another one from the listeners. I got a tweet to there for a bad beat. Castagna, highest goal scorer in the Richmond Hawthorn game. Oh, yeah. So he's on 2 goals, leading, equaling the lead for the highest goal scorer for the game. I think he missed 2 opportunities in the last quarter and also missed a chess mark at the top of the goal square. Ball zings down the other end. Chad Wingard gets the worst free kick of the year and then kicks the goal, and Wingard gets the highest goal scorer for the game.
I noticed that one. That's a shocker, and it is good to get those from the listers. So keep them coming. I'd like to hear what's the pain they're feeling and the bad beats that they're receiving.
There's something odd, like a good segue off the back of, I guess, the Geelong-Carlton game. There's a lot of talk about it. Geelong are this yo-yo side. They can't string wins together. Does that make them, from a punting perspective, the punter's bunny or a punting nightmare? How do you, with those inconsistent sides, is it a week-by-week case, or they lose, you back them the next week, and vice versa, or...?
For me, they've been a nightmare historically. I've never been able to find the Cats. They absolutely kill me. But I do think when they are a yo-yo side, you can get good value on them either way. So I think it should be a positive, but it hasn't been for me historically.
I think about 10 years ago, there was a punter or something called Catman, and it was a bloke who used to back the minus every week, and he just did it for, I think, 2 or 3 years in a row.
Was his name Anthony Jupp?
It wasn't Anthony Jupp, but it was a Geelong punter and a Geelong fan, and we found, I think we did the stats, and it was like he went at 17%, and all he did was take the minus of Geelong every week for just 2,000, and it was amazing in that golden era that they had how much they covered.
Yeah, they were amazing back then. They did just keep covering.
And what did you think, Dowso, about the Geelong-Carlton game? And are they a bunny for you or a nightmare as well?
I've always thought down at Geelong they get overpriced down at Geelong, so they're always too short down there. And I've that many times just gone, nah, price isn't right, gone the outsider, and probably like Cam, I've been burnt that many times down at Cardinia Park. So. Yeah, they're a bit of a bogey team for me as well. In saying that, if that price moves any further against the Ds, that might be a little tickle there. I think Geelong coming back on the rebound might be worth a look. Not quite happy with the price there at the moment, but if it gets on the move, then that might be a play.
Now, what's doing at Essendon? Clarify the position, but also just how you're going to handle this as a betting opportunity.
I might throw over to Cam there. I've got no idea on this game, to be honest, about and the punters haven't put out the bookies haven't put out a market yet. But I don't know, Cam. How do you see this one? So many unknowns.
It's very hard to say what I'm going to do there yet until I see what the market is. I know what the price should be, and I know what I think the bookie's going to put up. But if it's the right price, I'll be going whack. But
against them,
I don't want to give it away.
Into the mailbag.com.au.
Mailbag.com.au might be the place to be. Something I thought was a bit of an error, or something that backfired last week, was GWS's rough tactics against the Bont and against the Doggies. It seemed to backfire big time. Were they going to lose anyway, or?
Or did they lower themselves to their level?
Did they lower themselves and then just let Bulldogs play the ball and play the footy and miss the entire point of the contest, which was to try and get the ball and kick goals?
It's one of those ones that if it works, people say, oh, geez, they intimidated the other side. And then when it doesn't, it backfires and they look stupid. So it's hard to say whether it had an effect on the game, but it's a high-risk strategy.
It wasn't the only game with a bit of argy-bargy. It was good to see a bit of feeling back in the AFL, because I've found that it has been a little bit vanilla and hands-off and a bit soft lately. So what did you think, Douse?
I think we get a bit wound up about this. It's good to see the tough stuff back, and all they do is push each other and grab each other's jumper and give each other I think it's meaningless for.
He wants more. He wants blood.
I think it's meaningless for the large part.
I think the rule changes and the sort of the pressure and the fines around this sort of behaviour has enabled the pure athletic, I can run really fast and for a long time beaters that now dominate the AFL to sort of get in there and here you go, mate, you want some of this, because they know they're not going to get kinged.
Yeah, your Thomas Buggs, those
sort of
characters.
So you can really lip up. Yeah. You wouldn't do that in the park because you'd go, but in the AFL it's just all show.
Yeah, don't really rate it.
Yeah. Now, before we start looking at the Swans-Bulldogs game, I think you boys both Jack owes me an apology about Hawthorn because they were brilliant. And then I think you boys owe...
The Swans came back as well.
Exactly. You boys owe the Swans an apology as well. Yeah. What's going to happen this week in the Swans-Bulldogs game tonight?
Just on that Swans last weekend, a big late change, and it was a really brutal weekend for late changes for punters. Mm-hmm. Happened in a lot of games, and I don't know whether it's because of COVID, we're not getting the information, but Dusty was a late pull-out, Kelly and Green were late out, Cunnington was late out, so it's very tough for punters when that sort of thing's happening. So it was pretty brutal on that side of things for the round.
So are you going to change your strategy in a bit later?
Well...
I think it's a one-off.
I think if I still like something, I will go early. But
I think with Cam's bet for the mailbag subscription guys, he still smashed the
closer.
handicap. So, like if you look at it from my point of view, like as a horse punter, you've beaten SP, you smashed SP. It was the right bet. Even with the out, it was still the right bet. So I think when you identify a bigger edge early, you're still going to pull the trigger
if you can.
But when you don't,
You can get
when you don't need to, you can wait a little bit.
And look, sometimes, it goes the other way, doesn't it? You get big outs from the opposite team, so then you're getting more on top of what you even bet early. So you take the good with the bad sometimes. I mean, it went against me on the weekend. I know that with the Giants and North Melbourne, but that's the way it goes. You can't cry over spilt milk, can you?
Daniel O'Sullivan from the Ratings Bureau says, see price, like price, take price. And I think that's, pretty good words to sort of live by.
Don't overthink it.
Exactly.
You just grey yourself up and you...
The best bets are usually they're crystallising your mind pretty fast. Would you agree, Cam?
Yep.
That's one thing I've learned from my journey as a punter. You can find the bet and then try and make sure of the bet, and then you'll lose the bet. But if you just go... You can just skim the meeting pretty quickly.
And you can find some real good bets.
These four stand out. I'll dive in them a little bit more. Yeah, those two are good bets. Just do them.
Sammy, what
the
about
results are the same.
Tonight's matchup, the Swans versus Bulldogs? What's the betting? And then we'll get the guys to give some analysis.
Look, it's been... excuse me, let me clear my throat.
Off the darts.
The price... I've been good. Prices are pretty solid there. They're pretty short. Close match is what I'm trying to say. The lines around...
There's not a lot between them.
Pick them.
Yeah.
There's not a lot betwin them.
Lines around 1.5, I think.
Which is
Yeah,
nothing.
it's been a
Real
move.
flip of the coin stuff.
Move from the Swans from the start of the week. I think it opened about 2.5 Bulldogs' favourite, and then Sydney have been
Because the
been
boys are back.
and Dicko's up and about with the Swannies.
Boys are back.
Yeah,
And they've always got a bit of an axe to grind with the Bulldogs, who stole a premiership from them with one of the lowest free kick counts in the history of AFL in the grand final. It was disgraceful robbery. The boys they'd still be hurting a bunch of them who are still from that generation.
I think one thing in the AFL at the moment is the emotional energy of teams week to week. We've seen it already this season and last season as well. The side that gets themselves up for 1 week, it's very hard for them to go back and do it again. So,
and if there's one thing you say about the Swans is that I don't think they're great.
They bring it all the time.
They're pretty consistent.
They are.
The Dogs shithouse for week 1, got up for the Giants. You're a huge chance of dropping away this week.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, not week one post-COVID.
Yeah, week 1 post-COVID.
Yeah.
You guys betting?
Not on that one.
Not touching it.
What's your favourite footy saying?
Bad kicking is bad football.
Stuff like that. You got one?
Geez. I'd probably have to have a little think about that, Dicko. I'm not too sure.
Just done my brains, I think is my
Brains.
favourite. Done my brains.
Yeah, Kev likes that
Lost
one.
all my
Brains. On the weekend couldn't get near it. That was my one.
Okay, and the mug punter in me sees Collingwood nearly close to Pickham on the road. Collingwood historically a good travelling side. Everyone's been saying that for, it feels like the last sort of 10 years.
Because they don't do a lot of it, so they're looking forward to getting away from home for a little bit. That's common sense. As I said a couple of weeks ago, there's a young, thick boys. They're in their prime. As if they're not going to enjoy a little week away.
There'd be not much doing out at West Sydney. I wouldn't have thought. But what do you guys think about Collingwood? It looks a gimme, but I'm a mug AFL punter.
It's one of those games with this week with a lot of queries around injuries. So GWS have got 3 guys that had injury concerns last week. I wouldn't want to be betting in that until I know what's happening with those 3. So it'd be one of the games I'm waiting till after teams before I'm doing anything here.
Do have some mail on that one that Toby Green will play.
Okay.
So he's definitely coming back. But I've got last year burnt in my brain about this matchup last year up at Giants Stadium. I was all in on the Pies last year in this same fixture. Giants had a very depleted side, and the Giants, Toby Green-led Giants that day, absolutely put Collingwood to the sword. So, it's I'm going to stay away from that one, I think.
One thing we have noticed early in the season, before we go on to the other games, Scoot, is a lot of the big teams are falling away. West Coast, Richmond, Geelong, GWS, they've had poor starts to the season, and the flag market is really open. Like Collingwood, Brisbane, Port, I think we mentioned Port last week. They're the sides that are the only sides at the top, the quality sides that are really going well. You know, obviously Gold Coast are going well, but you look to see them drop away. So it's a hugely open season, and the 17-round season where these sides get a great start to the season, they're going to have a really good opportunity.
What about Port then?
They seem
They seem to be just like sneaking under the radar a little bit.
They're going to have to play at the MCG to the grand final, though.
Well, are they?
I would have thought so.
No moral.
There's a bit of talk about being played elsewhere.
What, Metricon?
No, maybe in WA or South Australia.
Be a huge edge. Cam, you're looking sheepish over there. Do you know something that I don't know?
No, I don't know anything. I have heard WA talking about getting crowds back in by...
Earlier. That
Yeah.
would make sense.
Yes, so that would make sense. But Port, they had 3 really soft games, though. I do think they're travelling really well, but they haven't really beaten anyone of huge quality.
Have they got a test this week?
They have got a test this week, and that game's been a big mover to Port. This is where I like to sort of go against the grain. No one else likes West Coast this week. Everyone just thinks Port are going to steamroll, but they have beaten 3 soft sides. They played in the wet when they're better in the wet recently. West Coast will be, you'd think,
Chomping at the bit.
If McGovern comes back in, I would be big on West Coast at like plus 8.5. You know, like that's a huge move from the start of the season, and something I'll be probably getting involved in.
Bit of SP profile stuff there from C. Dean.
Well, there's a bit of movement off the seam there from Cam. What's your best this weekend?
Well, I was coming in the other way early on that game. That game opened up at Pickham, and at that price, I was all about Port. It is moving. That price is moving and will probably move a little bit further, I think. In terms of a head-to-head matchup, I'm actually a little bit worried about the bubble bursting for both teams. I guess that's the win bubble for West Coast, getting back on track, and also Port three in a row. You know, are they due for a loss as well? So I managed to get a little bit down on Sunday night on the power. I'll probably look to be gapping that one and going back the other way.
Oh. Gapping.
Beautiful. All right, we'll have a little bit of a break. We'll come back and talk some more AFL, and then we'll move on into a little bit of Snowman. We're going to close out the show with Top Rope Tedeschi. Samantha, why would I use punting form? 7 years of historical data and benchmarking, which is easy to use online.
It's the number 1 choice for horse racing professionals.
Beautiful. We'll be back after this.
Welcome back to Little Birdie Pod. This is Sam, and we're here with the boys to talk a little bit of football. Now, first up, we want to talk about the Hawks taking on North Melbourne. The Hawks are the 8.5-point favourites. Boys, how are we betting here?
Well, Scooty, it's mine and yours Hawks taking on the Kangas down at Marvel Stadium, and
Morals.
I had to just double check that premiership betting before. I think Hawks are 7. I couldn't believe they've got that completely wrong. Surely
bathwater on these blokes.
We've got to be
1 week. You rolled a team that didn't show up.
We've got to be into faves, don't we?
Wiped like a dirty
$17.
arse the week before by a team that got beaten by Carlton.
Goodness me.
And arguably, it's going to be played at our home ground or over in WA. So the last time we played over in Perth, we smacked the West Coast Eagles. So we go well there too.
They're talking finals.
It's the same dimensions as the MCG. So it's basically the same ground. West Coast doesn't look like they'll be there. No Freo. So it's either going to be
lower on the ladder.
Be neutral.
I tell you what I love the most about Hawthorn and Hawthorn people was the week before there was nothing about Clarko. It wasn't his fault. No, he didn't pick a poor side. He didn't get out-coached by Scott. They roll Richmond and don't turn up, and here's Jesus again, our Lord and our Saviour. Clarko, the Belichick of the AFL, please.
Well, I have a feeling, I know this man pretty well sitting next to me, and I have a feeling he's going to just clip our wings a little bit here, Scooty, because North Melbourne a plus 8.5.
Follow your money.
It's down at Marvel Stadium, and North have clipped us down there at the last 2 years at Marvel Stadium, and if I know this guy very well, he'd be liking North Melbourne.
I love how
here.
you say down at Marvel Stadium.
Yeah, isn't it the Dome? Is it playing in Tassie or at the Dome?
We don't know where it is as Hawks supporters. But what do you reckon, old mate?
Yeah. I think if Cunnington plays, he's key, and Cunnington is likely to play. But I'll be waiting for teams there. But if Cunning plays, and being at Marvel, which the Hawks don't love,
we don't
and
like that.
Vice versa, the Kangs love Marvel Stadium.
Yep.
I would be going for the Kangas here. So I'll
that might be
wait
the
for
case.
teams back the Kangas.
Yep.
And it looks like it's even moved a little bit to the Hawks, which is what I really like. So interesting that you guys are getting excited about finals. You're not even above the box office Suns on the ladder. I don't know, where's all this coming from?
Well, we've beat Brisbane Lions, and they went on to. I think they were a preliminary finalist. last year, so we've beaten them. So we're 2-1.
You got beaten by the Cats, like not beaten. You got wiped.
In memory.
Who got beaten by Carlton last week? I'd just stay
Yeah,
real
but
calm
A
and
plus
enjoy
B
the
doesn't equal
process.
C.
I'm not saying it won't happen, but I wouldn't get ahead of yourself.
We've got the magic word called momentum. You need it in every facet of your life, and we've got it in spades, and we've got the best coach.
And
the Belichick of the AFL.
Cam, I might even ask you about
Maybe they pepped up because the clubs got back open. You know, the online, the poker machine started to sing
Well,
again,
here we
and the
go.
boys thought
It's the same old tune.
We're definitely going to get our match payments this week, so we'll try. Please calm down. What are we talking about next, Sammy? Bees and the
2020,
Catters.
Anything can happen. Yes, we're talking about the Cats. They're 11.5 points favourites against the Melbourne Demons.
Max
Yeah.
Gorn's come out with some interesting stuff, like changing his pre-game routine. Like, Max, don't try and reinvent the wheel, mate. You're playing well.
You're playing well, yeah.
You're playing well. Let them do them, and you keep doing you.
Yep.
keep pushing
Yeah.
people in
Just
the back.
worry about singing the song together. The Demons had a scratch match last week, which I don't mind. I think it's like, not that these sides would be too tired at this time of the year playing 17-minute quarters, but back at the MCG, which we know the Cats don't really like the MCG. I think 11.5 point starts. I think Dowso said that he sort of liked the Cats here, but I could only be on the Demons. But I will probably not bet at this price, but I think it could move a little bit further. Got to 12.5, 13.5. I'll be on the Demons here.
Gee, I was
We
exactly the opposite there. I said I could only be on the Cats. So we'll see how that one goes.
All right, boys, that's been outstanding again. I can't wait for this weekend's AFL. We've got a little bit more spice into it now. I am never done it before in my life, but I'll be betting and I'll be cheering for the Roos just for the content for next week's show. Up next, we've got In the Know with the Snow.
Welcome to the show, Snowy.
Scoot, Dicko, Sammy, how are we?
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Better for hearing your tones, little man. How are you?
That was creepy. We have an HR office, by the way. If you need to reach out to anyone.
Yeah, we had to get one put in when you
Snowy,
started.
what happened in Adelaide last week? Nick Ryan's horse ran third at the short odds. Any excuses?
Third.
Well,
Thing ran last. Didn't stop. Didn't try. Gutless. Weak.
I did speak to Nick after the race.
The stablemate chopped it up out in the lead. It was disgraceful.
What did Nick say?
Well, I did ask him. He wasn't sure, and I haven't heard back from him as yet. But I'll have to chase that one up. But yes, it was very disappointing.
All right,
If you won every week, mate, you wouldn't be on the show. You'd be living. Where would you be living?
no, I don't know where Snowy'd be.
I'd hate to think where I
Neighbours
could
with
end
Nick
up, to be
Kyrgios,
honest.
surely.
Mate, the nation's capital
I think
with the Frenchman.
Snowy's built for Vegas. One day, maybe
Not
my
built for
Bucks.
Vegas.
We'll go, Snowy and I will go to Vegas, and I may not come home in one piece, but I'd love to do a little bit of Vegas pool parties with the Snowman. It would be elite viewing. Snowy,
It should be a fun couple of weeks, but geez, I don't reckon I'll come back either.
The old Kendall hair. Would you get that wet?
oh,
I don't know about that. Anyway, Snowy, straighten us up. What are we doing this weekend? Where's the mail from the hut?
Well, we've got one, Geelong Race 3, number 9 on Friday, Sophia. Mickey Dion drew Barry at 10. It did come out of the Sunshines race down the straight at Flemington the day we had the Punters Club, but it was very green down the straight and didn't finish well and finished fourth. But Mick thought that was his best in the next few days and will be a good start for Saturday. Build a little kitty.
Yeah, we backed that horse in the Stratosphere Scooty. It was very green down the straight and still pretty good. I would have loved to have seen a stronger rider hop aboard, but Mick D will have to do it. It is only a Geelong race. I expect we're sort of going to be south of 250 odds, but I think it's a pretty good horse with a strong form line and probably will be winning.
now, Snowy, you'd be in hibernation. No barley and no last-minute trips to the UK. What are you going to do?
It is a massive change for me this year. Did go to Bali, then it was a last-minute decision that took the Bali kit to London. But yeah, I'm not sure what will happen this year.
We'll have to get you in the studio to do it. Give us a full 5 or 10 minute rundown of how you ended up going from Bali in board shorts to then attending the Ashes series. And I don't even think you saw an over of cricket, or you weren't definitely cognizant for it. You couldn't tell what was going on. But we'll save that story for another day. Let's hope that Nick bounces back this Friday. And
That was Nick last week.
Yeah.
This is Mick Price this week. This is the blue blood. This thing.
Now
It's for the chic.
Now, Snowy, you own racehorses. You're a big racing fan. Front page, it went from obscurity at Wangaratta to coming in and winning the Creswick Stakes last week. Would you have sold the horse to Hong Kong and bent over?
For 1 million. 1 million's the offer.
Or would you keep it to race? What would you have done?
I have actually thought about this. I'm a born and bred Corro boy, and there was a lot of excitement in the hometown. I reckon I would have probably kept it. You spend most of your life trying to get a good one, then it has a couple of stars. I reckon I'd be the one to hang on to it, enjoy the ride.
You are a risk taker.
But yes, I am a risk taker, and I reckon I would. Yeah, I reckon they made the right decision. What do you boys think?
I would have sold it.
I thought it was a ballsy move to take it to a listed race, so they've obviously got a big opinion of it.
Sam, let me just apologise for Snowy there. What would you think? Because he just asked what the boys would think. Come on, mate.
Okay, Sammy.
Snowy, be better.
I would have sold.
Would you have sold?
Yeah.
Cash is king.
Absolutely it is. You can have a lot of fun with $1 million.
I think it was a ballsy move to take it to the listed race, and obviously the money wasn't there.
You'd keep.
Well, you've got races like the Kosciuszko, the Everest. You've got a horse like G-Try. It's probably won the guts of $1 million. There's a lot of Group 1 pickings. There's a lot of horses that have gone over there, and then they've left all these riches for the Coral boys to scoop up. So as Snowy is, I'm a big fan and a big man of good times with the lad. So what sort of price can you put on that? I don't know.
Yeah, but I'd rather have the
some win too, wasn't it?
I'd have the million. It'd be a better time with the boys. We just bet on other people's horses, which is what we normally do every other day of the week. Sweet. But I'm cashed up. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Snowy, thank you again. Good luck. This is Geelong, Friday, race what, horse what, please?
Race 3, number 9, Sophia.
Go on.
Nick Price, barrier 10, Mickey D.
Thanks, Snowman.
If you don't trust Snowman's tips anymore, you can also head to Punting Form, Australia's leading sectional database. If you are betting, make sure you gamble responsibly. If you're concerned about a loved one or yourself, call Gamblers Help on 1-800-858-858. Welcome back to Little Birdie Pod. I'm Samantha and I'm here with Nick Heathcote and Jack Dickens, and we're about to talk Hall of Fame with none other than Top Rope Tedeschi.
How good. It's Hall of Fame again. Look, I'm sure there's plenty of good nominations from the team today. I know Scooty's got some thoughts.
Well, I think the owners of Front Page nearly deserve a Hall of Fame nomination. They've bred what looks like a superstar sprinting sensation, and they haven't been over to Hong Kong. It takes a lot of balls to do that. And looking at the betting prices that they've got on the weekend, I think it was like $14 into about $10 or $9. They bet up there, and they've bet heavily now on this horse's ability. And they've probably knocked back, I'd say, 1.2 or maybe 1.5 million at a guess. And if Hong Kong really wanted them, they probably should have offered more money. So I think they're probably worthy of the Hall of Fame. But what do you like? We had Vanna Girl last week, Top Rope. Who do you like this week?
Yeah, look, it's been a week of reflection, team. It's coronavirus is hitting its second wave. Restrictions are back. It's whether the AFL will continue anymore, who knows? There's no PBL leading it, so it's very much at risk. So I've just gone into the archives. I thought, who historically could we get back? It also was raised last week when we talked Noel Kelly in the rugby league segment of the great fix of the 1963 grand final. Who could we pluck from the annals of history to add to the Hall of Fame, just to add a little bit of weight, a little bit of meatiness to it all? And I found the great Titanic Thompson. Just a few yarns from the great Titanic Thompson. This is probably the preeminent rorter of all time. This guy famously bet that he could hit. This is 1920s hickory sticks. Could hit a drive 500 yards. Took bets from everyone. Waited till winter came. He said, all I've got to do is be able to pick the course and I can hit the ball in any direction. Everyone thought, what a fill-up this is. He got to the tee box, turned left. There's a frozen lake next to him. Hit it onto the lake and it skidded for It skidded well past 500 yards. I reckon it could have gone a mile by the time it reached the other side of the lake. What a rort. He once bet a bunch of guys outside a famous pool hall. He could guess exactly how many watermelons were in a truck and did it. Of course, he'd organised the watermelon truck beforehand to come by. So he rorted everyone. He was a pretty good athlete. He used to go and reportedly used to beat Ben Hogan in match play. He used to beat Byron Nelson. So good athlete, but just one of the great rorters. And in these desperate and dark times, finding a grade A rorter. Anyone
that was born in Monett, Missouri, Monett, but probably pronounced Money, who was known to be a shyster against Al Capone, And he was just, it seems like an old school hustler.
And a worthy entrant to the Hall of Fame. He goes
Modern day Mick Gatto.
It's now time to talk rugby league. Straighten us up, Top Rope. Been a big
Titanic
week.
Thompson, I love it.
Been a big
Top
week.
Rope.
The Storm forced to relocate.
Look, it's some say it's a result of coronavirus in Melbourne. Others say it's just to be closer to Peter V'landys. It's
hang on. What about your mate PVL? I seen him on the TV this week. He's talking about another team in Queensland. Hey, Peter. How about you sort out the Titans first champion? They didn't have anyone going to their games before the COVID. They didn't win before COVID. They've not got anyone going after it, and they're not winning after it.
And while you're there...
How could you dream of having another club in Queensland when you've got that basket case up there?
And just while you're there, PVL, there was only 6 races on today's card at Canterbury.
6 races?
And 43 runners!
Mate. You've got no idea. Mate, on Saturday at Rose Hill, the grouse of the grouse racing in Australia, the biggest race bet on the fair was $510,000. Victoria, the biggest race, $820,000. That's $300,000 that you didn't get to tax, Peter, and we know how much you love to tax.
To be fair, Victorians had a lot less to distract them than the New South Wales team, who were absolutely gagging for the rugby league that was on. So don't worry about that. Look, PVL is a man.
I think that's a win to us there. We finally got one over Top Rope. It's taken 18 episodes, but here we are, Scooty! Bang!
PVL is a man who can do wonderful things. He can walk on water, but even he can't save the Gold Coast Titans.
And he can't tax City
fair
Bet.
play to him.
Do you get $5 every time that you mention PVL's name, Top Rope? Because it's not in the contract that you signed with me. Let me tell you that. Now, this week's games... You were on fire. I think you returned a profit of 46% profit on turnover last week for the mailbag.com.au listeners. You've finally got your head around the new rules and the speed of the game. What do you like this week for the listeners?
Yeah, look, a couple for the listeners. This we'll give out. I'm very, very keen on the Roosters to roll the Dragons on Friday night. It's a massive line, 16.5, but these new rules are just absolutely widening the gulf between good teams and bad teams.
Mary McGregor going for 3 in a row.
Yeah, he will not be getting it. He is very lucky to have a job, and I feel very sorry for all those punters who got on Mary McGregor, first coach sack this year. It was one of the great stitch-ups of all time.
Well, that's so rugby league, isn't it? That this bloke who's held a group together over the other side of the Tasman
in COVID times,
he's kept them together. He's brought them over to Australia. They've come in at Tamworth. They're not even drinking it wouldn't even be tap water. They've gone through hell.
They wouldn't have Mountain Goat over
They were nowhere in the mark. They're performing as expected, and they've sacked him low.
They're probably drinking till he's new.
I'm talking about Kearney.
You've got to win. You've got to win. That's rugby league. You've got to win. And you know what? People will think it's the wrong way around. They think, the timing, it's terrible. You know what? He was lucky to have a job this year. He should have been sacked last year. So he was very lucky. He should consider himself. He got a bonus of 9 months. So well played to him. But and he's on a new 3-year deal, so he probably got a fair old payout in it as well. So I don't think there's too many people who should be feeling sorry for Stephen Kearney.
Any other games this weekend that we want to bet into? We've got the Broncos v Titans. That'll be a belter. Eels versus Green Machine. Eagles Sharks. The battle of the beaches. And we finish with the Dogs and the Tigers. Like the Cowboys on Saturday afternoon. Plus 7.5 against the Knights. There might still be a little bit of +8 out there, but starting to be bet now. Knights have lost young Bradman Best. He's probably their biggest strike player outside of Ponga because he breached COVID protocol, so the law got laid down on him. He's well, at least they're playing the game. So he's in isolation. So, but they're a big home underdogs early in the season. Absolute money. They got the job for us. They got the job done last week for us, and we will continue to back them. So the Cowboys at the big plus. Sammy, if we're betting on the Rugby League this weekend, we want to take a handicap. What will Top Sport give us?
They're doing even money lines still to win up to $200, which is just huge. But make sure that you are betting responsibly, please. And if you are concerned, call the Gamblers Helpline on 1-800-858-858.
Now, Top Rope, the Chooks are into a very short quote for the premiership. They're around the sort of $3.50 mark, and then you got Melbourne Storm at $6.50. Is there any angles from a future perspective that you can see at the moment? The AFL's absolutely wide open. Hawthorn are still $17 somehow. What's your update and your lean with the NRL futures?
Yeah, I reckon there's the top two tiers. The Roosters are clear standards at the moment. I wouldn't be rushing into the 350. A couple of injuries could derail that, but that's a fair price. Love the Storm at the 650. Still sticking with them. I know they're playing, being forced to play in Sydney, but they're a thoroughly professional outfit, and they haven't hit their stride yet. But they're still 4-2. They're primed. The only other team I'd look outside at the moment is probably Manly. And they'll have Trebojevic coming back later in the year. He's gone down for 8 weeks. But
again, he's gone down again. This bloke's in, then he's out. In, then he's out. He's a super talent, but it's not much good to you if you're playing footy.
Dicey hamstrings, but they're playing real well this year. So Manly would be the only other team I'd be looking at there. I couldn't have Parramatta. They've had a pretty cushy run. They were very good against the Roosters last week, but now they're versing the good teams. I think they could be in some strife.
Speaking of Parramatta, top row,
been a bit ugly.
Where has the Parramatta Jesus gone?
Who knows?
It's Parramatta's version of Joffa.
He could be buried under Bank West. For all we know. He's gone missing in action. No one knows where he is.
He might be with Mick Goody somewhere. Who knows? The curator up in
Jimmy Hoffa-esque.
Who would know? COVID's doing some amazing, strange things, and hopefully everyone is safe out there. Top rope, Titanic Thompson into the Hall of Fame is one of your best American hustler, gambler, golfer. God, he just sounds like my hero, this bloke.
We would have lost a fortune to him. We would have lost.
But you would have had a lot of fun doing it by the sounds of things.
Bloody hell, we'd have some stories.
We'll catch you next week.
That's it, guys, for another big week on Little Birdie, as they say. Another day, another dollar. The big Dim Sim used to tell me that.
Sammy, I think your homework's to try and get a booking at Gimlet when it opens up in Flinders Lane, and we can have our next team meeting, and maybe all the couples, all the partners can go out and have a little bit of a chill and a chat and a wine.
Sounds good to me.
Dicko, you reckon you can get a babysitter before then?
Where's the Gimlet?
In the city.
Are you going to be able to make it that far?
Pack
from
lunch.
your new digs out in...
Murrumbina, the Orchard.
Well, imagine that. We'll be like, we just got in the Uber. We'll be at yours in 20. Oh, fresh hell. We're gone. How gone are we?
Well, we're not gone because we've got the best AFL and NRL analysts this week. Make sure you write all the tips down, and we'll be back next week for another cracking episode of Little Birdie Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and our SoundCloud. Thanks, guys.
Bye.